and it comes beautifully wrapped, ready to give. So stop in today at A Moment's Peace. Call right now at 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com at any time.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on kind of a cloudy, overcast Friday. A little cooler maybe than we want, but given that it's February, you know, what the heck? Let me look at the weather tomorrow. 69 for a high, but a good chance of rain. And that gets considerably colder or cooler. 48 for a high for Super Bowl Sunday. Anyway, we welcome all of you in. Kelly Holcomb, not with us today, as is the case on Fridays. We say hello to Billy Derrick. Billy, how are you?
I'm good. It's a little relaxing anytime Kelly's not here.
Is that so?
There's a weight lifted.
I might put that out there.
Yeah,
relaxing.
Maybe, yeah, just a little bit.
Okay. Might tell him you said that.
Do it. I wonder what he'll say.
Oh, God only knows.
I can't believe yesterday he threatened to put Coach B in a chokehold.
You know, I heard that.
I mean, where does that come from?
Such violence. And this is how the youth of America stray it the wrong way, is listening to this.
So I'm not afraid to slap an old man or something like that. Thanks, Kelly.
Oh, man. So what was it? Somebody sent me yesterday. Let me see if I can find this real quickly. About fluidity is caused by too much fiber.
Too much fiber.
Thank you. So what do we got?
Well, we got a pretty loaded update today.
Do we really?
Yeah, we do. It's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. I want to start with a result last night from women's basketball in Knoxville. The Lady Vols upset number 5 UConn and Gino Auriemma last night, 80-76.
Yeah, that's really that's a cool win. You know, they stopped playing some time ago. The late Pat Summitt basically accused Gino of cheating. Yeah.
Did he? Did she really?
Yeah, and so that sort of ended that for a while. And
I wish they did more of this. In the middle of conference play, you know, have a rivalry game out of conference. They don't do it a ton. Kentucky played Gonzaga last year in the middle of conference play.
It's hard.
I remember.
It's
but
hard
you just
from a scheduling standpoint.
Yeah, you just don't see a ton of it. But the Lady Vols get a win last night over UConn. Big win for them. Speaking of big, there's a big game tonight in Storrs, Connecticut. St. John's at UConn. Dan Hurley against Rick Pitino. And if Rick Pitino wins tonight, St. John's is in the driver's seat in the Big East to win that conference.
Yeah, he has what he's done there in less than 2 years is pretty remarkable. Now, that said, Larry Bud is not walking through that door.
When you know that's going to be a war.
Makes
tonight.
like 4 days in a row I've done that.
Yes, maybe one too many.
Thank you.
So that'll be a good game to watch if you're looking to watch some college hoops tonight. Speaking of college hoops, tomorrow got a loaded slate in the SEC. The lines for the games are out. Big line in Kentucky tomorrow. Kentucky favored by 11.5 over South Carolina. That's at 11 a.m. Also at 11 a.m., Tennessee traveling to Oklahoma. The Vols are 5.5-point favorites. That's not going to be easy for Tennessee. Vanderbilt -2.5 at home against Texas at noon. Big game for both those two teams. Missouri hosting Texas A&M. The Tigers are 2.5-point favorites. That one's at 2:30. Number 1 Auburn, favored by 8.5. That's a little low for a lot of their home SEC games. They were 17.5-point favorites against Oklahoma.
Yeah, the
earlier
only
this
other
week.
one at home that I think they've been single digit probably was Tennessee.
That one's at 3:00. Georgia favored by 1.5 against number 22 Mississippi State. That's at 5. And then a couple of, Ole Miss LSU is not a great night game, but a really good night game at Bud Walton Arena in Fayetteville. The Hogs are 6.5-point underdogs against number 3 Alabama. That's at 7:30. And then LSU is a 5-point underdog at home against Ole Miss at 7:30.
Okay.
So
that's a busy little slate right there.
Yeah, we'll get into it with Mark Griffin coming up. Also, a note on Florida-Auburn. Walter Clayton will return to Florida's starting lineup for that game against Auburn. So he's their point guard, their best player, really. So that's big for Florida. Also, some breaking news in the college basketball world. I mentioned it yesterday, but Mike Woodson will step down as Indiana basketball coach following the end of the current season. He will coach out the rest of the year.
Yeah, this is not a surprise. Indiana just has not been what Indiana used to be. Now, you could go back about 20 years saying that. Really, since Bobby Knight got shown the door, Indiana has seldom been the Indiana that I grew up seeing. It's a different deal. I'll be curious. You know, Ron Bargatze brought up yesterday Steve Alford.
Yeah.
And Alford, you know, I don't know if it's too late on Alford, but I think he'd be well received by the Indiana folks. At least I think he would be.
Yeah, I think it's smart. Get ahead of the posse. I mean, this should be a home run hire for Indiana. You wonder who they go after. I mean, is Byington's name thrown out there at all? Maybe, but I've been hearing a lot about Chris Beard. If Indiana wants to make a home run hire, back up the Brinks truck for Chris Beard at Ole Miss. But obviously, he's in a good spot there in Oxford. You wonder who they hire, but they're certainly getting ahead of the posse. Speaking of hiring and firing, SMU athletic director Rick Hart announced he will step down at the end of this academic year. He's been the AD since 2012. The Mustangs obviously just moved to the ACC last year. That'd be a great job for potential AD to come in there and take over. They made the 12-team playoff in football, and the basketball program is on the bubble. So,
well, most importantly, he got them in the ACC.
Yeah, well, they're donors, all that.
Sure. But I mean,
he cobbled them together.
However it happened, happened under his watch.
Yeah, that was the biggest move for them. In the NFL, Josh Allen beat out Lamar Jackson for the NFL MVP last night. It was close. It was a hotly contested race. Allen received 27 of the 50 first-place votes, 4 more than Jackson did.
Kind of feels like the game in the playoff ultimately decided it.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, that game came down to a missed 2-point conversion.
That game was nuts.
You know, when Mark Andrews dropped the ball in the corner.
If Andrews catches that, maybe things are different. Maybe Lamar Jackson is your MVP. That would have sent it to overtime. Who knows what happens? But Allen's your MVP. Offensive Player of the Year, Saquon Barkley. Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain from the Broncos. Offensive Rookie of the Year, no surprise, Jaden Daniels from the Commanders. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse from the Rams. Joe Burrow wins Comeback Player of the Year after a rough season last year. And then Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings, wins Coach of the Year.
People kind of forget. I mean, he had them on a roll until the final 2 weeks of the regular season, and then they fell apart.
Did not end well for the Vikings. The Hall of Fame class is a small one for the induction on August 2nd in Canton. Antonio Gates, Eric Allen, Jared Allen, and Sterling Sharp are the newest members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's the smallest class since 2005. And there's a big missing piece here that has caused a big stir. No Eli Manning.
Yeah, I mean, this one's just a matter of time. He's going to get in.
Yeah.
The other two that you have listed there, Adam Vinatieri, who I think you could argue was, during his time, the most clutch field goal kicker.
Yeah.
beginning with that thing in the snow in the playoff game against John Gruden's Raiders, and then Luke Kuechly, the great linebacker of the Carolina Panthers.
For next year, you've got Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, and Phillip Rivers. They will be among the players who will be in their first year of eligibility next year. And perhaps the biggest name of all in the coach contributor categories, Bill Belichick.
Well, now I'm confused. What's the why next year on Belichick? What's the? I know in baseball it's a 5-year wait. I don't really know what the wait is in pro football or not.
Maybe because of the category he's in. He's a coach contributor type. Maybe it's different for players. I don't know.
Okay.
But that's what you got.
Yeah.
For next year. Also in the NFL, they announced the first ever regular season game in Ireland will be played in the upcoming 2025 season. And the Steelers are the designated home team. Their opponent has not been announced yet, though.
You know, when the NFL goes down the road of trying to hoodwink the players into the 18th game, there's obviously a lot of give and take that goes on. And the way the thing is, the NFL is going to say, okay, look, we'll throw a bunch of money at you to get this to be done. I do wonder if the players sit there and say, listen, this going to Ireland and going to London and all this is great for y'all. It sucks for us. I wonder if they go back and say, because I'll be honest, if I'm the NFL players, man, I play hardball. The NFL is dying to have an 18th game because they know it is a money pit. Yeah. And if I'm the players, I stand up to it and I demand half the moon before I agree to an 18th game.
You wonder what these conversations are like when they're trying to find an opponent here. Is the NFL going to teams and requesting and saying, hey, would you want to play the Steelers in Ireland? Or is it more of you're playing the Steelers in Ireland?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think
and how many of those teams are like, we're not doing that.
You don't get first of all, I think once they get there, it's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
But to travel to getting there and what it does to disrupt a team in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if maybe the better way is to play preseason games at these places.
Yeah, just do that. I mean, middle of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I hear all this stuff about, there will be an NFL team outside of the continental United States. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it ever happens.
What wasn't that announced a couple of days ago? Goodell said we will have
one, and I don't buy it. I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm with you. I mean, the fact that he's so confident makes you think, something's happened. By the way, something's just happened here.
So this is one of the busiest days I have ever seen at the Ford Ice Center. They've got a bunch of tournament stuff going on.
The tournaments start and people roll in from everywhere.
And they have rolled in, and somebody must have just scored.
Well, they're up here at where the bar is, and it's a pretty cool place to watch some hockey.
They can yell at their kids without the kids knowing it.
With glass in front of you. In golf, Tiger Woods has committed to play in next week's Genesis Invitational at Torrey Pines, just outside San Diego. The tournament was moved to Torrey Pines from Riviera Country Club in Pacific Palisades, California, because of the devastating wildfires in L.A. This Genesis Invitational, by the way, benefits Tiger Woods' I think it's TGR fund or whatever that is. But it'll be his first start on the PGA Tour since he had surgery to relieve pain in his lower back in September. I'd like to know if he's 100%, but
well, I think he wants to know that. I think this is sort of
one last go at
him saying, okay, here's my master's, here's my master's sort of report card to can I hold up?
Yeah. Well, he's scheduled to compete just 9 days after the death of his mother. So that's obviously tough. So, but either way, for Tiger, like you said, this is an opportunity for us to look at him and be like, okay, Is he ready to go for the Masters?
Because what really has gone on in recent years is it doesn't feel like he can go the full 72. And you hate seeing that for him, but that's just sort of been the way it's been.
Yeah. That's what I got.
Okay. Super Bowl, of course, is Sunday. We'll get into that a little bit later. Mark Griffin's going to join us for his regular Friday visit. We got a lot of things to get to with him, including, is tomorrow do or die time for Vandy? They play Texas, as Billy mentioned earlier. If you look at their schedule, it kind of feels like that has to be a win or they're not getting in. We'll talk about it more when we come back. This is 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Happy game day, Preds fans. Max Hers talking to you from Chicago, where the Predators play the Blackhawks tonight. The game is tonight at 7:30 with Hal Gill and I on the call. Pre-game coverage with Robbie Stanley begins at 6:30.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We are back. For the record, Joe Lenardi puts out every Friday his most recent bracketology. And let me kind of give you where he is in the bubble world. His last 4 byes are now Oklahoma, Utah State, which had a really bad loss at home to New Mexico last Saturday, Georgia, and Nebraska. Those are his last 4 byes. His last 4 in, which basically means shipped off to Dayton, are in order: Vanderbilt, San Diego State, BYU, and Wake Forest. His first 4 out, it's amazing what 2 good road wins can do: Arkansas, Xavier, SMU, and Central Florida, UCF. And then the next 4 out are Pittsburgh, North Carolina, VCU, and Southern Cal. Let me say this on North Carolina: if their name were Texas Tech, I don't think you'd see them anywhere close to this.
No. I'm surprised they're even on the bubble.
Yeah, I'm amazed that they are there. But anyway, those are Lenardi's latest on the bubble. And with that, we say hello to our buddy and former University of Tennessee star, Mark Griffin, who joins us for his weekly visit. Mark, how you doing?
Fantastic, George. Billy, how you guys?
Good. What'd you think of what we put out there?
Wow, it's amazing to me to even consider a possibility of 14 teams, and so now I'm at the point I'm like, okay, LSU, South Carolina, hello, you're the only ones on the outside right now. I mean, because we talk about Arkansas being a little bit on the outside, but ever since Boogie Flan went down, they have really regrouped and is a team that is not surprisingly playing as well as they are. And I'm just, please forgive me for getting the guy's name that transferred from FAU, John L.
Yeah, John L. Davis.
John L. Davis. I mean, people have been waiting on him to step up, and he has taken over this Arkansas team over the last 3 games, guys, and they have really been playing well. So kudos to Arkansas. Was my most disappointing team in the SEC so far, but I think that's starting to change now. Of course, there's a lot of games left, but they're looking really, really good right now.
Okay, let me weave all this into some level of whatever. I have been babbling for a while about a 7-11 SEC team getting in. And for a couple, 3 weeks, I kind of thought it was Vandy. I'm starting to think it's Arkansas more than it is Vandy. That at 7-11, they have enough in the non-conference. And, the fact that 2 great road wins, have taken them from clunker land to right on the edge tells me they might be the 7-11, Mark.
I mean, it could happen. It really could. And it's going to boil down, and we'll dive in even more deeply in future segments, the importance of the net ranking, the NCAA evaluation tool that the committee uses that's going to be vital. Because you mentioned winning on the road. How is that looked at by the committee? Teams that are hot. Used to back in the day, guys, they talked about how you fared the last 10 games. That's not a metric that's being utilized, but let's face it, I feel, and most fans, we remember more short term than what we do what happened in November. So I think that's going to come into play. Net's going to be huge. Looking at these teams, though, I hate to say this because I know we're going to talk about Oklahoma, but if Oklahoma loses tomorrow against Tennessee, that's a team that's trending down. That's one I could see fall out of the being a bubble team, and Georgia as well. Those are 2 I have concerns with. Vanderbilt, comparing them to the other 3, I feel a little better about based on their schedule, but they still have got to protect the home court. Interestingly enough, looking back at Oklahoma, at one point, guys, they were 12th in the nation. They were so hot, and then they lost 2 games in a row. So this is a formidable team, but And this is going to be a situation where the veterans for Tennessee are going into an arena, guys, that they've never played in. So this is a true road game with no experience in the past. And I do feel that I wouldn't be surprised if Tennessee came out a little slower tomorrow because of the unique situation of not being able to play there in the past.
Okay, let's hopscotch all over the place.
Why
Mark,
not?
given Vandy's schedule, they've gone to Oklahoma, they've gone to Florida. They lost both of them. Now they're home against Texas, home against Auburn, and then they go to Tennessee and they go to Kentucky. Given what we know, basically, if they're going to get in the NCAA tournament, don't they have to beat Texas? Isn't this
no doubt.
must
No
win
doubt.
gets?
We hate to use the word must win, but let's face it. Your next game is a must win game because that's how you look at it. Coach Barnes had a comment in the press just yesterday talking about his 5 upcoming games. He's like, look, I don't know who we play. I just know who we got next. And it is really that short-term mentality of next opponent's most important. And you hear that coach speak, but it is true. For Vanderbilt, I think this is a must-win. You cannot afford to lose to Texas. Now, Texas is a beatable squad. The Johnson kid's incredible for Texas. They've got really good rebounders, great athletes, but they're a beatable team, especially on the road. And I think it'll be obviously great environment for the Vanderbilt faithful, knowing what's on the line and generate some momentum moving down the road against these other squads. And if they can come out 2-2 at least, I think they're still in good shape.
Okay, let me now go to Arkansas for a second. And I'm asking this question. We've all got an opinion. But I know 2.5 weeks ago when I watched them slumber through a Georgia game where the only good thing that happened was that they won. And I remember watching going, what in the world has happened here? Okay, all of a sudden, he has flipped a switch. And the switch started sometime last Friday or Saturday in Lexington. They went to Texas and steamrolled the Texas Longhorns. In your opinion, what switch did he flip, he being Calipari, to turn this around?
Well, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but obviously with his coaching experience over the years, you use a lot of psychology within practice situations. He came across on the news media the other day of having more fun. He was saying how much he's enjoying this team, and maybe he's taking a more positive approach. Maybe some of these guys need their hands held a little bit more. Whatever he is doing, George, is working. Once again, I was surprised. Boogie Flan, I was at that game in Knoxville. Fantastic player, future first rounder in the NBA. To turn that over to Davis and other players to step up their game. They've got great rotation right now. Not a lot of depth, but they're getting production. It seems to me that the guys are just really got each other's back more. The effort's been there. You've seen guys die for loose balls. They're not arguing with each other. Body language seems to be better. I mean, those are definitions of success. And they're on a good little roll right now.
So because of that, I'm intrigued. Auburn and Alabama, to me, have separated themselves from the rest of the league for now. Now, you might say Auburn's separated from everybody, period. But to me, it's Auburn and a little bit of Alabama that have separated, not a ton, but some. Here's what I want to know. Is Arkansas ready? Are they that good at this moment at home to beat Alabama?
I don't think so. And after giving them all the props in the world, a team we're really not talking about as much as should be talked about is Alabama. I mean, they're right there, shoulder below Auburn, but they've got to play. Alabama plays Auburn, 2 occasions moving forward, and what if Alabama upsets Auburn twice? Then we're changing our conversation. But I still think that Alabama would defeat Arkansas just because of the personnel they have on the floor. I think they've got more scorers than even Arkansas does right now. They've gotten great rebounding. I think they're either second or third in the nation in rebounding. So they've really dominated the boards, which is important. And I think that's what it's going to come down to, and especially when you got a guy in Mark Sears with the ball who's had that proven experience of being a winner over the years. I just feel really good about Alabama in this matchup.
Okay, let me try this one. In however you try to separate the SEC, is Auburn the best team in the country today?
Yes, I think so, until proven otherwise. Now, are they the most talented team? I would say Duke is. You look at Duke's team, they've got 3 players that are listed to be lottery picks next season. I don't see that on Auburn's team. So when you look at talent level, Duke has more talent. Now, Duke doesn't have the bench. Auburn does. Auburn has fantastic free throw shooters. Their 4 guards are averaging almost 90% from the free throw line. That's going to win games at the end of the game, especially when games are tight. When you've got 4 guys you can put the ball in their hands, that's amazing. So I think Duke has the most talent, but I think that Auburn is the best overall team just based on how Pearl lets them play with the freedom. They have great body language. They're rushing on the court, off the court. There's just no slack. When you bring in your substitution, I'll give you a great example. When Sakai Ziegler comes out of the game, you can feel it. You can see it. Who's going to run the point? Is the movement on the offensive side as efficient as it was when Ziegler's in the game? And it's not, unfortunately. But when Auburn makes substitution with their pattern, they're flowing. They've got constant movement, and that says a lot for their program.
Okay. I want to get to this because Billy, this is going to go to one of the things Mark sent you earlier today. The most shocking thing that I have seen recently in college basketball, because I have thought for a while, there are 3 things in life that are certainties: death, taxes, and nobody is going to beat Houston on their home court. Yeah. And I believed that going into last Saturday. I see Texas Tech, very good basketball team. They get their coach thrown out of the game early on a crappy call that they got royally hosed on. And I saw a mental toughness out of Texas Tech to go win at Houston, which nobody else is going to do. And I was like, dadgum, Texas Tech, pay attention to this team.
Yeah, this is my nothing but net surprise team, as you see here. Thanks, Billy. And to speak more of the Houston win on the road, they had won 33 games. And when the coach got thrown out, McCaslin, their best player got thrown out as well, Toppin. So you had a combination there. So for them to really pick it up and win at Houston, which is going to be a team that many are predicting to be, Final Four type material, is a huge win for Texas Tech. And I did some research on this coach, and he spent majority of his career in he's from Texas. What's interesting about this coach is his first job, guys, was an assistant with a JUCO. Worked his way up ahead of a JUCO, and then just kept working his way up. He spent 2 seasons, he spent some time with North Texas, and won a CBI championship, won an NIT championship. So he's had championships at that level of play for his division at North Texas. Second year at Texas Tech. And it's a team that not many people really talk about. And that's why they're my surprise team. I can't wait to watch them more. But they've really just played so well together and have been a huge surprise this season.
Mark, I have believed going into that game that there are not 5 schools in the country that could go to Houston and win. The Fertitas Center is about a 10,000 seat deal. They're all very tied up on you. Houston gets after you like nobody's business on defense. And I just came away from that going, damn, you talk about a mental toughness. I didn't know Texas Tech had that.
Yeah. Another interesting point that I'd like to make, if Billy can put that graphic back up, if you have time, if not, no worries, I'll talk over it. But we look at the quad 1 record of 5-2. Those 2 losses, guys, 1 point each. Their 4 losses are by a combined 11 points. Now, will the committee look at how many points differential? I don't know. I would be. I like to know if teams get blown out, does it hurt you? If it's consistent, if it's a one-off like Tennessee's loss at Florida by 30, or looking at Florida's, 20-point loss in Knoxville, is that a big deal? But if it's consistent, I think you look at it more. But if it's close, I think you look at it as well. And I mean, not many teams have 4 total losses by 11 total points. So I mean, this is a team right now, that if they had a record of, let's say, 21-1, then where are they ranked?
Yeah, right there with Patino's St. John's. What I know about McCaslin, when I saw his teams at North Texas, they might not have been the most talented, but they were incredibly mentally tough. Yeah. And he has brought that same mantra, if you want to call it that, to Texas Tech. And, when he got thrown out and his number 1 player got tossed, and not only did they not cave, but they took it right to Houston. My jaw dropped.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I can't wait to watch them more, and I will be looking for them because obviously they're a very tough conference in the Big 12.
Okay, let me tell everybody here, I'm going to turn it to Billy after the break. Then at 4 o'clock, I'm going to we're going to demand your phone call for Mark and your text questions and all that stuff. Billy, I have left a lot of meat on the bone. No pressure, but if you don't do right, you'll never get to do this again.
I got some good ones cooked up.
There's a lot of pressure on Billy every week that I'm on here. I can't imagine the other segments, George.
Well, it's worse because Kelly's all over his butt.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, we'll go to the break. This is 94.9 The Fan.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment
required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancos to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancosbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
To define teams by singular performances.
Sports. Did he not go back into the game after that interception?
Let's get this turned around. And we're all saying, no, they don't.
Here. You thought you were on your way.
Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Well, it's a Friday tradition during college basketball season that former University of Tennessee great Mark Griffin joins us. Raise your hands.
Okay, George.
Yeah, well, you know,
for you.
In case they've forgotten you, a lot of folks.
There you go.
Yeah. And anyway, Mark's talking really good stuff, college basketball wise. I'm going to open the phones right at 4:00. We will demand your phone calls in an unprecedented move. If you don't call, we will send Gruff Dog to your home.
There it is.
A fate worse than death. Mark, I'll explain that to you later. Billy, sure. I've left a lot of meat on the bone. I expect good stuff.
It's gonna be good. Let's go to Big Ten country. Mike Woodson will not be at Indiana next year. Now that we know that, who are you looking at there? I'm hearing some more and more rumblings about Chris Beard, that Indiana should back up the Brinks truck for Chris Beard. Ole Miss football is not their number one priority. You know, all that. Who do you think they go after? And what do you think about Chris Beard potentially at Indiana?
Well, they have to call him. I think he's one of the first calls. I don't know why you don't go after Brad Stevens until he says no. I mean, is he loving where he's at now? Would he answer the phone or his representatives? I'm sure they'll listen. Believe it or not, Grant McCaslin, is a name on the short list as well. And I can see why if they continue to have the success and go far in the tournament. Dusty May is another candidate that has got to be looked at. You know, he was a manager.
Hadn't that ship sailed given that he's at Michigan?
Well, it has, but what if Michigan advances far again in this tournament? You got to look at buyout. There's so much you look at now. I mean, would he leave? That's a tough one. But, you know, so many coaches, without naming coaches, you never think would leave, do. money talks, but you got to look at fit, building a program, the working relationship with the administration. Now you got to look at NIL, with the collective. Are y'all working hand in hand with them? There's so much to look at, either stay or not. But this is the earliest we've talked about coaching changes, George. I know this is one of your favorites when we start talking about the coaching carousel. There'll be a lot of names on that list. It'll be interesting to see the ones that are, these agents that are doing work behind the scene to kind of get their coaches' names out there, because that's what you're going to hear a lot too. Because as you know or may not know, some of these agents will get their coaches' names out there to get them a higher contract at their current location. So that happens.
Really?
More money for the agents, yes, and everybody.
Tennessee's got Oklahoma tomorrow, of course. They're on the 1 seed line right now, according to Joe Lunardi, which may surprise some people. Whether they stay there or not, who knows? But, and I know we've asked you this a lot, but do you still believe that this Tennessee team is a Final Four contender, Mark? And I know it's easy to say right now after a couple of good wins, yes, but I feel like there's been times where, many people have gone back and forth with this Tennessee team.
It's a great question, and I hate to say it depends, but I look at pretty much every team in the country as beatable one night. I mean, even we've raved about Auburn, we've raved about Alabama, and now we've talked a lot about Duke. Each of those teams are beatable. It will come back to matchups, how some of their so-called stars will play, the tempo of the game. I still go back to the Oakland versus Kentucky game last year. No one saw that coming. There was other ones, but, obviously that's one I really pay attention to.
Yale and Auburn.
Who will be the Oakland of this season, or any other upsets that are out there? Now, getting back to your question, are they a legitimate 1 seed? I think the way they're playing defensively, they have to be considered a 1 seed. What concerns me is when they have their offensive woes and other people aren't able to step up and make shots if their star players aren't scoring like Lanier. Now, we saw the other day with Igor had a game of his life. And what I didn't realize, guys, this kid is 6'10". I thought he was 6'8". And to be a 6'10" player who can step out and shoot 3-pointers is a huge mismatch. And he's also averaging 8 rebounds a game. So I think they're getting more than what they expected. And I'm still going to come out today, like I've said this before. I think Tennessee goes as far as Igor. I'm not going to call him by his last name. I always butcher it. So.
Milicic.
So
well,
the shooting Croatian, but I really do, and I hate to put it all on him, and it's not all on him, but he cannot have a really bad game where he doesn't contribute in some manner. Guys don't have to score 15 points a game. I mean, he's averaging around 11, but you just can't lay an egg, and he cannot be in a position where he doesn't defend. And if he has a really bad game, it's really going to hurt, because he's such a key cog in that defense based on height. Because you've got Okporo, who is a huge presence, altering shots, getting rebounds in the middle, and then who else do you go to? I mean, you've got limited players that are there. And they're just going to have him be very consistent.
Well, you can't lay an egg tomorrow if you're Milicic against Oklahoma. Very good. Well, I say very good. I mean, they, like you said, Mark, they were the number 12 team in the country at one point, and they fell on some hard times. They've also got some good wins. And Jeremiah Fears, who is an NBA lottery type guy, Jalen Moore is a really good player. But for your MIT most impactful transfer is a guy by the name of Duke Miles, who most people may not know of.
Yeah, and you know what? And for good reason. And I'm really proud to announce this one today, because this is the first MIT most impactful transfer that I selected for a Tennessee opponent for the weekend, who comes from a mid-major. He transferred from High Point. And you see his average here at 10.6, and one may go, well, okay, that's okay. But you mentioned Jalen Moore. Well, Jalen Moore's fourth in the SEC in scoring at almost 18 points a game. Jeremiah Fears, like you said, is going to be a lottery pick. He's a star freshman, almost averaging 16 points. But what I really like about Duke Miles is he's averaging over 50% from the field. He's averaging over 40% from three-point land, and he's also averaging 85% from the free throw line. So what that tells me, guys, is you've got a very consistent third option. Now, going back to Tennessee, do they have that consistent third option that Oklahoma does? I can't say they do offensively, but what hurts Oklahoma is they're last in the SEC in rebounding. Okay. And this is not on here for Duke Miles, but that's a huge advantage for a program like UT going in to Norman tomorrow. And also about this kid, Miles, he was first team all Big South from Alabama, for what it's worth, but you've got a Southern guy that's moved on in the SEC and playing for Oklahoma. So he probably knows a lot of the guys that play for Tennessee, probably played against them in high school during travel ball. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how he plays if UT can neutralize him. Because if, Jalen Moore may get his, Jeremiah Fears may score and play pretty well, but you've got to limit their third and fourth options. First option, that's not as big a deal as long as you don't let them score 30 and they do what they want. But you can't let players like Duke Miles come in and beat you on their home court.
I know you like the Dayton Forsyth kid too. He's a freshman who's really, really tough. He killed Vandy. So Oklahoma's gonna have their hands full tomorrow against Tennessee. Another team that'll have their hands full is Florida at Auburn tomorrow. Florida gets back Walter Clayton, though, who didn't play against Vanderbilt, and that affected them, right? He's their best player, their lead dog. But, Mark, Florida down low, and this might be a hot take, I think they can hang with Auburn down low, whether it's Condon, Hauk, Chinyelu. They've got four guys that they rotate down low. Can they do enough I know it's an 8.5 line, and it's hard to beat Auburn on the road. Tennessee maybe showed the formula. Can Florida potentially do it tomorrow?
They can, if they can, like you said, if they can bang Broome and get Broome in foul trouble, I think you have a shot. The good thing that Florida said, as you mentioned, with their big guy rotation, all those guys are 6'9" or above, at least 7 foot. So that's going to alter Broome. What concerns me is if you see an NBA style of play over the weekend where the score's in the 90s, and that's what Florida likes to do, and that's worked out for them. But if you do that at Auburn, I think it could be a tough way to go for Florida. I feel, and you saw this with Tennessee defensively, the lower the score, I think it favors Florida more. The higher the score, even though Florida's a high-scoring team, but if they can slow down the tempo, I think they have a better shot against Auburn on the road because Auburn's not going to get up as many shots as they're used to, and they're going to have to really have ball movement, and Broome's going to have to really work inside, him and Caldwell as well. But I think they can bang him more when they're having ball movement because he's going to go block to block. He's going to get hit every time he goes block to block. When you're going basket to basket, there's not a lot of contact, guys. But when you're going block to block on the offensive side, you're getting banged. And the more you're banged, the more you get tired. It just happens.
Well, and the other thing is low scoring, you start to take the crowd out of it a little bit. I mean, let's face it, that crowd's right on top of you. They have become a huge home court force for that team. And Tennessee kind of took that crowd out, in a 51-48 kind of game. Gets hard.
Yeah. And one can say, I mean, I hate to look at one possession. Tennessee gets that rebound at the end that Broome was able to kick out, I think, to Miles Kelly. Tennessee goes away with a win.
Yeah.
So, but that's just one critical possession, I should say.
Okay. After the break, we're going to go stat of the day. Why that was so hard, I have no idea, but it was. And then I want your phone calls and your text messages for Mark. I implore, this guy is good, and I want to hear from you at 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. I want to get your phone calls in for Mark as we do a good long segment with him. And then later in the 4 o'clock hour, I will tell you who's going to win the Super Bowl, and I will implore you to make money off of that. You got that, Billy?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, great. Okay, stick around. This is 94.9, The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Your team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
The George Plaster Show gets advertisers the results they're looking for. For example, here's Metro Nashville Police Officer Garen Hoskins.
You hear me all the time on the show talk about changes in career, people looking to serve their community and get into law enforcement and join a great department. And I just so happened to meet an individual who heard my segment on your show, has already applied, has come from multiple different career paths, and has always had this dream. And we're very glad to have them. That's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
Evan Canty and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Can Mike Vrabel bring the Patriot way back?
Not the same version, but his version of the evolved version of that. He played for the coach. He didn't coach for the coach. So not exactly the same way as it was, but his version of it.
Well, I think the most important thing is that he's not going to try to be Bill Belichick.
No,
he's already established his own coaching style.
Evan Canty and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
You expected that in year 2, Jordan Love would build on what he had in year 1 as a full-time starter, and that just didn't happen. If anything, it feels like he regressed. And as a result, it lowered the ceiling for what that team can be in an increasingly competitive division. So that's why I have to look at it as a bit of a disappointment.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan. A Cromwell media station.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Next, Mark Griffin, SEC basketball guru, coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collisions. You can find them, Collision Centers. You can find them at Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. Now we're going to lump Griff into here. The WCC has been run by Gonzaga and St. Mary's for the last 2 decades. Who was the last non-Gonzaga or St. Mary's team to win the WCC regular season?
Mark, why am I thinking the answer is Pepperdine?
I don't think it's Pepperdine. I think you're going back to, Jim Herrick days, if you want to go back that far.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah.
We played Pepperdine years ago, and if anybody's ever been in that campus, I don't know why they don't do better in recruiting. Just go to their campus.
Yeah.
It's one of the most beautiful campuses in the country. I'm going to say San Francisco.
San Fran.
Okay, Billy, show us something.
A rare moment here.
I'm going Pepperdine.
George is correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Paul Westphal. Is that who that is?
I figured Mark might know who it is. I didn't know who that was.
That's Paul Westphal.
It's Paul Westphal.
Former Phoenix
Paul. Yeah.
Former.
Terrific player.
Great
First
call,
of all,
George.
played on the college level at USC when UCLA was the cat daddy. Went on to a career. Phoenix. Was he a Celtic at one point?
I believe he was. Short term.
Here's one for you, Billy. Pepperdine once won an NCAA tournament game by beating Bobby Knight.
Wow.
Okay. Who was the coach at Pepperdine that beat Bobby Knight?
Man, I don't know.
I have no clue.
Jan Van Bredikoff.
No way.
Really?
Yep.
JVB. Or JVBK.
Yeah, you got to get the stuff right there. Okay,
Good
so
call, George.
How about that?
Do we know what year? I'm just curious.
I think this is probably the Nixon administration. Just to be perfectly honest,
You said last 20 years, so that would be wrong.
2000. It looks
no. That's them winning the whatever they call that thing, the West Coast Conference. That's going way back.
Yeah.
Well, it says here in 2000, Indiana was crushed by Pepperdine.
Yeah, that's when Jan Van Bredikoff was there.
Oh,
but they were not.
I thought that's what Griff was asking. Okay.
No.
Got it.
Okay. So I know we have some good text questions.
We do.
But am I right? There's not a phone call on there?
No calls. We got a couple texts.
This is. Do I have to send Gruff Dog to your
So
home?
much for being a guru, as Billy said. That's the first time I've heard that. Maybe that's why.
If Gruff Dog comes to your home, you will wish you had made the phone call. So the lines are. Excuse me. I really got choked up there. The lines are open at 615-553-0933. Not only do we implore, but we threaten the use of Gruff Dog.
Text question number 1.
Well, this is a comment here. We talk about Chris Beard potentially to Indiana. Randy says Chris Beard will not go to Indiana. He likes Funky's Pizza too much. In Oxford, hotty toddy. Eli is a Hall of Famer.
Well, Eli certainly is a Hall of Famer, and about a year from now, you'll know it. So, Mark, this seems like...
But that's a good point. Would you rather stay in Oxford in the South in the SEC or go up to Bloomington to a struggling program?
Yeah.
Don't know. I mean, here's one way of looking at it. Can you win a national title in basketball at Indiana?
Yes.
Yes. Can you win one at Ole Miss? No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So, it depends on what that particular coach wants.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Beard defensively feels a lot like the old Bobby Knight stuff.
Yeah, and let's face it, Ole Miss gave him an opportunity too during a tough time.
Right.
So that would be, I mean, it would probably be a tough call. But I mean, we're sitting here in the first week of February, and we think we know of 3 big blue bloods that might be open. Virginia, we know will be open. Indiana, we now know, even though we've assumed it all along. And more, we're starting to believe North Carolina will be open.
Yeah. Wow.
Justin, when we've talked about this, he asks, Mark, I was expecting more out of Matt McMahon at LSU. It seems like LSU is pouring more resources into football, baseball, and women's basketball. Does Matt McMahon turn it around there?
Okay, let's get deep into that, because when you played, LSU was a Final Four contender, and they have proven on 2 or 3 occasions as a program to be good enough to get to a Final Four. Why are they sitting in this position? I don't get it.
I don't get it either, because I'll say this. Based on road trips, their Pete Maravich Center was one of the loudest places that I played back in the late 80s. Of course, you had some great teams. We had some great losses there. But some great players came through there. And this is interesting. I wish that LSU would do well for personal reasons. Tony White, former teammate of mine, his son is on staff with Matt. Matt is from Oak Ridge. Great guy. Obviously, he worked his way up coming through Murray State, which is close to where I grew up in Union City. I don't see, from what I've seen, guys, I don't see this program turning around in the near future. You're not hearing great recruiting noise out of Baton Rouge. And if you're not hearing it from high school, are they able to get the transfer? Because right now, you get 1 or 2 transfers, you turn the program around in a year. So I'm not writing him off. But if he doesn't pull the trigger on 1 or 2 key players for next season, he's going to be on a short leash.
You go back to 2022, they were a 6th seed in the NCAA tournament in Will Wade's last year, and then that goes crumbling down. If that doesn't happen, Will Wade's probably still there and, rolling, right? So the Will Wade factor here.
Well, now, wait a minute. There are other reasons why Will Wade isn't there.
But like say none of that happened.
Right. Well, personnel. I'm talking about personnel not being there. So, and it does make a difference who's in charge.
And then you go to 23. A couple of years ago, they were 14-19, 17-16 last year, and now they're 12-10. I'm kind of with Mark. I don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel.
So, Mark, it would appear to me there are 3 places that LSU ought to kick butt. Okay, first of all, in the New Orleans area, they ought to do very well. LSU has a big base over toward Houston.
I wrote that down.
Which means they can get into Texas. Yeah. And the other is they're close enough to Mississippi, which produces bukus more college talent than the size of that state ought to get you. So
Chris Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, that's one example.
or Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. You think about it. What Mark's talking about is Shaquille O'Neal, Stanley Roberts, Chris Jackson, right around 1989, 1990. They weren't all that well coached, but there's a lot of talent.
A lot of talent.
Ty says, who's a projected high seed SEC team that you could see being upset in the first round of March Madness?
I'm going to go Mississippi State. And top of head, without thinking through it, just reason I say that, I don't know if they have enough offensive weaponry to put on a show. If you can neutralize Josh Hubbard, I don't see consistency on the offensive side. Now they play hard, man. They play hard, and they play together, and they've played really well this season. I think they played better than what most people would have thought Mississippi State to play this season. But the first team that comes to mind for me is Mississippi State. But there are going to be upsets. Gosh, there's going to be, and that's the great thing. I call it Christmas. March Madness is my Christmas. Just can't wait to tune in to sit down, hopefully on cushioned seats all day and evening to watch games or stand up. And there are going to be upsets, and that's the magic of March Madness. But first of all, Mississippi State. And that's just the one I think of immediately. The second team that I think of right now, and they're a high seed, is Texas A&M. And we could go into why do you think that? I mean, love their guard Wade Taylor. But I just wonder, do they have the weapons if you neutralize him? For me, it keeps going back, guys, in that second and third option. Every team's got a main scorer that's going to be 15 plus a game. But if they're having an off night or if you're really defending an individual well, who picks up the slack and who is consistent? You can have a guy shoot well one night, but they're going to have to be consistent because your confidence ebbs and flows if you're inconsistent. And you want to be that second or third option where you're feeling really confident with your role of someone like a Duke Miles that is consistent regularly versus every fourth or fifth game. And as you know, the pressure intensifies during the tournament. That's what's great about what we're seeing even this weekend. We talk a lot about the postseason tournament. We need to enjoy the here and now, these matchups that get you ready. And even getting you ready, what we really mean is having improvement, because what I can't wait to see the final week of the SEC regular season, and we're sitting here going, who's the most improved team this season? Who has been, mainly floating in water, and who's been sinking? Who's not gotten better, and why? Because there's a lot out there still, and there's going to be some individuals that we may not be talking about now on a regular basis that step up their performance, and I'm looking forward to finding out who that's going to be.
Mark, doesn't it really get down to, and this is ugly what I'm going to say, but when you get to the NCAA tournament, there is, from the minute you tip off a game, what I'll call the tight butthole factor, where certain teams who are really athletic suddenly can't throw it in the ocean. The ability to either bring somebody off the bench or have a zone buster who says, oh, by the way, in case you haven't noticed, you got to put the ball in the hole. That's how you score points. Isn't that ultimately a deciding factor when you've got two teams that are really athletic, but what's the separator is the kid outside who's a zone buster?
Yeah. That's true. Your zone busters change the game quickly, and no lead is safe. We have this saying in basketball for everybody that played: if you have a double-digit lead, you're feeling pretty confident. It's always like, hey, we're 10. If we're up 10 or more, even 2 minutes with the game, you're feeling confident. You break that the 10-point barrier where you're at 9 or fewer, that's when that sphincter gets tight. And in the tournament, what you're going to see too, we hear all about these teams that are scoring in the 80s and 90s. You're not going to see that in the NCAA tournament, George, for good opponents, because one steady factor is that the teams I feel that are going to advance are your better defending teams, like the Houstons of the world. Tennessee I think that's why they are a 1 seed, because of their defensive dominance. Tennessee's offense is ranked 15th in the country in points scored. No one's talking about that. They're 15th in the conference in scoring points. Does it matter? That's something that I would see more people poke holes in. No one's talking about it because they're winning.
Mark, looking at where Lenardi has Kentucky, he's got them right now as a 4 seed. I'm not buying that. I mean, they are not looking like a 4 seed right now. I know Lamont Butler's out, but they went to Oxford and looked awful. We saw what happened at home against Arkansas. I mean, right now is Kentucky, they're not a bubble team, of course, but are they closer to that 8-9 line in your mind? And that might be too far, but I do not see them as a 4 seed right now.
No, I would see them more as a 6 or 7 based on the eyeball test. What concerns me about Kentucky is their inside presence. Now, the Williams kid, had the triple-double the other night. Great athlete, but what do you have to back him up? Where else are you getting guys banging the boards on the inside? I think the recipe, we've talked about this, to defeat Kentucky is you really got to spread your guards out defensively to take away the 3-point shot. Love I think Jackson Robinson. Love that kid. I don't even know why. I love his game. And if you can make these 3-point shooters put the ball on the floor and not let them have standstill shots, that's how I think that's the recipe for beating Kentucky. That's a tough task because they have so many offensive 3-point threats. But when you look at Kentucky's depth, though, I think there's a huge dip, especially in guard play. And good thing that Mark Pope is playing a lot of guys right now, which is going to help them and season them a little bit. But I do feel that Kentucky is a team that, in my mind, is a 6 or 7 seed. We'll learn a lot, obviously, about them in the next few weeks. We're looking down the road. I mean, Tennessee goes up to Rupp, I believe, next Tuesday or so. That will be a huge game. They're going to have a lot of huge games ahead of them. I think I'm really going to pay attention to their inside presence, though, and see who steps it up for Kentucky on the inside to help out Williams to be a force, because they're not. And this has been documented. Even Jimmy Dykes has talked about how bad Kentucky plays defensively. They don't play defense as well as other SEC teams. I can't think of a team right now that I've watched, guys, that plays any worse than Kentucky consistently this season. And that includes, some of I haven't watched a lot of LSU. I've watched South Carolina a few times. But as far as these teams that are seeded with Lenardi, Kentucky's one of your worst defensive teams that I've seen in the SEC.
Yeah, Kentucky doesn't force turnovers. They don't. I mean, a lot of times they don't guard air on defense. That's bad,
and that's effort. Because think about. I mean, let's talk through that. If you force a turnover and steal, what have you got? You've got an advantage offensively, a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1, which used to be a layup, and now guys are stopping at the 3-point line and jacking up a 3. But Kentucky shoots the ball so well from the 3-point line. Hope gives them green light. Shoot it.
This is a good time for them to play South Carolina.
It is
Yep.
a good time, and I really do think you're gonna see. I think with Coach, and I don't know Mark Pope, he knows what he's got with his 3-point success, but I think he's going to focus more. Just my thought that he's going to say, guys, we got to spread the love on the inside. We need to go inside out, inside. We need to get touches to our big men, even if they're running the floor on the break. We need to get our big guys more involved.
Mark, let me take one phone call for you, and then we'll call it a day. Clay in Nashville, say hello to Mark Griffin.
Well, thanks for taking my call. Hello, Mark. How you doing?
Hey, Clay. Good to talk to you.
Mark, I'm talking in my comments. I'm talking more about. I'm a Vanderbilt fan, and I'm talking more about the last two games, the poor second half at Oklahoma, which I've never seen such a wild swing like that. But there's been a lot of wild swings here lately. College basketball, it's kind of crazy. And then the Florida game the other night. It appears to me one of the issues with Vanderbilt these last couple of games is their defense hasn't been as good in the second half. Teams have gotten hot from three. In the last 4 games, I think I'm correct in saying this, Vanderbilt's given up an average of 52 points a game in the second half.
Wow.
So my question would be, adjustments are on that. So teams kind of at halftime, they know what's been done in the first half and how to react and things like that, and then you make adjustments that are going to make you be successful. So my question, I guess, is, and I think Coach Byington has done a phenomenal job with this team to this point, but I'm just wondering if with some of these breakdowns and the higher point totals in the second half and struggling down the stretch and things like that, I was just wondering if Coach Byington has gotten out-schemed or out-coached at halftime. Thank you. I hope hang up and listen.
Thank you, Clay.
Well, I'll do my best to address that, guys. Proof's in the pudding. I mean, you look at stats. If Clay's correct on the points scored in the second half, looks like more adjustments need to be made. Now, what I have noticed, and Clay probably knows more about Vanderbilt than even I do. I've watched them several times. They're not big on the wings. Now, Hogarth is more of a point forward to me. And I know he's not a big guy. I think he's 6'4". He's tough, but I see him more as a 3 or 4 guy when he's in the game. And Jason Edwards, love his offense, but he's not someone that scares me defensively, guys. I mean, he's not out there stopping tons of guys. Let's face it. And he's going to have a big matchup concern with Trey Johnson. So I'll be looking for that matchup tomorrow. Another one, and George, you spoke really highly about this individual, is Jalen Carey. It'll be I'm really going to focus in on how he guards Arthur Kaluma, which we featured in the past as the most impactful transfer. Kaluma, I think, is the key, like Igor is the key for Tennessee. If Kaluma plays well, Vanderbilt's in trouble. He averaged 13 points a game, 8 rebounds a game. He is the ultimate team player, picks his guys up, garbage style player. He's had NCAA tournament experience. He's a transfer from Kansas State. I'm really going to look and see if Carey can neutralize him, and maybe even if Devin McLaughlin's on him, which I think he won't be on him as much. But I do want to see how Carey plays, because I really like Carey. From when I've seen him, he just overpowers people. Can he do that on the defensive end like he's done on the offensive end? When I've seen Carey dominate, it hasn't been on the defensive side more than it has been on the offensive side. If we see that tomorrow, I think Vanderbilt's got a really good shot.
Mark, appreciate it as always. Great stuff. I'm looking forward to a crazy weekend, because the first 4 or 5 of them that the league has had have been nutso. Why would this one be any different?
I agree. Must-watch TV. Bring out the popcorn.
I know where to get it. Talk to you later.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Mark.
Mark Griffin joining us, and we thank him for his weekly visit. So I'm going to break with tradition a little bit. And after the break, I'm going to tell you what I think's going to go on in the Super Bowl, i.e. plaster bet of the day. And then y'all can react as you want or as you feel you need to. Yeah. Stick around. This is 94.9 The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancoast Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancoast to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3. Decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancoast Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancoastbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
Happy game day, Preds fans. Max Hurst talking to you from Chicago, where the Predators play the Blackhawks tonight. The game is tonight at 7:30 with Hal Gill and I on the call. Pre-game coverage with Robbie Stanley begins at 6:30.
Smashville lives here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We are Billy, given what we're doing and kind of shifting gears a little bit, we're going to go plaster bet of the day a little bit early. In fact, way earlier than normal, because the Super Bowl is part of it.
Yes, it is. And it's brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law, best in the business. We're going to take a look at what happened last night first, and not a great night.
I got
George.
hosed.
Stanford -3 didn't work.
Stanford was the night before.
And then St. Mary's -5.5.
Yes, St. Mary's had a double-digit lead, had a 10, 11-point lead about midway through the second half at San Fran and gagged it and got beat in the end. They missed a 3 that would have won the game, and so they go down.
I thought St. Mary's was going to win that.
I thought so too, but I also thought their offense got really stagnant. It was just pick and roll after pick and roll after pick and roll. How many times can you run pick and roll? Well, with the kid Marcialonis at point guard, they ran it a ton.
That's all they did.
All they did.
St. Mary, I wonder if are they the leader in the WCC still?
Yes.
Okay.
We got one loss.
Okay.
Okay, so are we ready?
We are ready to roll.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 basketball games of SEC note, and I'm going to start in Fayetteville with the Hogs. I'm calling the Hogs not necessarily to win, but to cover. They're a 6.5-point dog. I'm starting to believe in them. When you go on the road in the SEC, it is never easy. So to sit there, you think about it, not a lot of 6.5-point spreads where the visitor is favored over the home team. And the problem with this is this home team is on fire.
Well, Ty, St. Mary's offense is about as exciting as a Jerry Stackhouse Vandy team.
Wow. Ty getting pretty descriptive there, is he? Okay, that's number 1. Here's number 2. So Vandy's had this really good year under Mark Byington, who replaced the aforementioned Jerry Stackhouse. So in back-to-back Saturdays, Vandy at home beat Tennessee and they beat Kentucky. And this feels like one where you can honestly say, if they don't beat Texas, they're not getting into the NCAA tournament. Not with the kind of schedule they've got over the next 3 games. When I watch Texas, I don't know what to think. Some days I want to do this, and some days I think it's better to do that. They're a hard group to figure. Bottom line, I don't think they're any great shakes. I think Vandy wins at home, keeps their stuff alive, and sets up Tuesday night a Memorial Gym that will be a madhouse against Auburn.
It's hard to bet against Vandy at home, especially against, they beat Tennessee at home, they beat Kentucky at home, and now you get Texas, a team that, they're not ranked. They're a bubble team. This is a game you can and should win if you're Vandy. Although this line here, 2.5, that might be tough to cover.
Okay.
Like Ken Palm's got Texas winning by 1 for what it's worth.
Right, but he didn't have to come on here on Monday and say, "Oh, I sucked."
Ken Palm's the basketball gospel.
Well, whoop-de-doo. So now let's get to the big one, the Super Bowl.
The big game.
I am taking Philly. Why?
To win?
Yes. What the hell does that look like?
That is what it looks like.
Why is that such a shock to you?
You're betting against. Do you know who you're betting against?
Yeah. Look, here's where I'm going to go.
I learned that the hard way last year and earlier in the playoffs.
Yeah, but look, you don't put your name behind it. I do. So I am going with the Eagles. Why? Because I think Philadelphia, if you could somehow remove a certain quarterback who wears number 15, I think Philly has a much better roster than Kansas City does. The problem is
you can't do that.
You can't do that. And so why do I think it works? 2 words: Saquon Barkley. I think KC is going to find it very difficult against this group. And so with that in mind, the more they can run him, the less old Patrick has the football. I'm going with Philly, remember, but I'm also hedging my bet a little bit.
Okay.
With this.
The over.
The dreaded, this is a 2-team teaser, Billy.
So you're extending it out to +7.
Yes, because based on what I've been seeing, KC doesn't blow anybody out.
Yeah.
Do they?
No.
KC +7. So why am I going over? I don't think you got any choice. First of all, you've got evidence from a couple of years ago. What was it? 38-35?
Yeah, you're talking the Eagles Chiefs the first 38-35. Yep.
Okay. So how would it go under 42.5? First of all, I don't think it does. But secondly, the only way is if these two teams take long drives that have to settle for 3.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's happening. I think both of these teams are going to score a lot of points. I think it's going to be an incredibly entertaining Super Bowl. Screw the commercials. The game is going to be better.
What I'm scared of here is if Barkley is not having success and the Chiefs are loading the box and he's not the same Barkley we've seen. Now, that could be a big if.
Well, now, what about him would not be? I mean, this is simply offensive line.
Yeah.
You give him any amount of room, he's going to explode.
If their running game as a whole
doesn't work
with the O-line and Barkley and whoever, can Hurts throw enough through the air to hold up, and can they compete through the air with the Chiefs?
And my belief is he can, because he did against the Rams. He did against the Commanders. Now, don't get me wrong. Commanders' defense is nowhere near what KC
This is a good Chiefs
This
defense.
is a really good defense with a great defensive coordinator who I kind of think has been unfairly treated in a second go-round for head coaching stuff. Steve Spagnuolo has been a godsend to Kansas City.
Well, I'd like to know how much he's making in KC.
I'm sure he's doing quite well, but I'm also sure he'd probably love another shot at it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be an incredible Super Bowl. I think the ratings are going to be really good, as is often the case when it's a tight game. Those ratings are really going to peak somewhere between 8:15 and 8:45 Nashville time, when people realize, hey, this thing's about to get decided. Now, there is maybe one precedent for where I'm going.
What's that?
Philly's Super Bowl win against New England. Remember?
What happened in that one?
Do you remember Philly's special?
Oh, yeah.
Nick Foles?
Yep.
Nobody thought Philly would win that one.
No.
I'd be curious, and I haven't seen it. Vegas puts out a number, and right now it's right there at KC by 1. I wonder what the money is right now, because I'm betting that the money is really very close to 50-50.
Yeah, that is interesting.
You're looking it up, aren't you?
I am.
Okay.
This is where you talk?
Yeah, I'd be curious. I think you passed something a minute ago there. Right there. Okay.
The Chiefs opened at -1.5, no movement. 52% of the bets and 42% of the money were on the Chiefs. This is February 7th today. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
42% of the money on the Chiefs. The Eagles opened at plus 105. Now they're plus 100. 63% of the bets and 60% of the money on the Eagles.
Which means that the bigger money seems to be on Philly.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll go to the break now that I have sprung this whatever on you. I do think Philly is going to win Sunday's Super Bowl. I would love your reaction, which may range from George, you have flipped your lid, to George, you're the smartest human being out there.
That's not going to be it.
Probably not. 615-553-0933 is our number. If you're out there driving around, in particular, if you're a new listener to the show, I want to hear from you. Your thoughts on my belief that Philly is going to win the Super Bowl. This is 94.9, The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here, we told you not to do this. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
So I have gone out on a limb as we welcome all of you back. It's 4:43 on a beautiful Friday afternoon in Nashville. I have gone with the Eagles, EAGLES, who, by the way, are only a 1-point dog. I'm going Philly. I think Philly's going to win the game. I think they've got the better roster. If somehow you could take 15 out of the game, that's a huge
you can't
if.
do that.
No, you certainly cannot. Let's go to Chris in Franklin, Tennessee. Chris, welcome into 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, George, thank you very much. I've been listening to you for 45 years. First time I've ever called. Bill Armstead and I are heading to the BGA basketball game.
Excellent. Save me a seat. I'll be there soon enough.
So tell me about the total on this game, George. What's the final score going to be?
Okay, so the Vegas's total right now is 48.5. And what I did was to kind of hedge the Philly bet, the straight up bet. I did a 2-team teaser for the purposes of Plaster Bet of the Day. Philly +7 and over 42.5. But you have to win both of those bets in a 2-team teaser for it to work. Look, I think the game's going over. I think it's going significantly over. And the only way it doesn't go over, because both teams are going to move the football. I think, to me, that's a given. It's only if you get too many field goal drives and not enough touchdown drives that this thing goes under, because these two teams are way too explosive.
Well, man, I love your analysis, and I love this show. I've been listening to you for 45 years. This is a great show, George. I'm really happy for you being on this great station, man. And Bill and I certainly wish you all the best.
Save me a seat. You're nice. Appreciate the good words. Tell Bill I said hello.
We'll got you taken care of. We'll see you at the game, buddy.
See you tonight. Let's see, Billy.
Did you tell him to call?
No, I did not. No, I absolutely did not. And they're not related.
Okay.
But two really good friends who are listening, and I appreciate that. They will. Oh, go ahead. Give me a couple of real
Jeff,
quick, and then we'll get to Eric
Jeffrey,
here in just a second.
Turnovers. That is who decides this game. Also, it could come down to the better kicker. I'm going Chiefs, but I'm pulling for the Eagles. That's exactly where I'm at.
You know, the kicker thing is a concern. Butker
has been a little shaky.
No, Butker's more the Vinatieri.
Yeah, but this year hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for him.
Yeah,
though.
but it's Elliott.
Yeah,
that you worry more about.
Yeah,
with Philly. Okay, what else?
Well, Stormy obviously said Barkley because Barkley probably will not be stopped. This Chiefs defense is really good. I mean, we can't just scoff at them and go, Barkley's going to go off. Now, he's been doing that, but he also hasn't been playing the Chiefs defense.
No, the numbers he's put up in the playoffs are absurd.
Yeah.
Now, do I think he gets to that level? No. No, I don't. But
what does he have to do? I'm interested to see, what does Barkley have to do on the ground for the Eagles to win?
You know, first of all, the numbers of what he's been doing are inflated because he's been breaking these 60 and 80-yard jobbies.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the game.
The likelihood is he's not going to break one of those. But if he gets to 100 yards, even if he doesn't break a big one, I mean, I don't know. I have not seen, I'm sure there's some prop bet of how many yards he gains.
Yeah.
I'd be curious what it is. Look that up as we go to Eric. Eric, what do you think?
Well, George, first of all, I just want to tell Tony, no one did watch the Pro Bowl, so I can't give you updated stats on that. So sorry about that, buddy.
Now wait a minute. Did you go through withdrawals?
No, I think, George, I've got to the point where I just don't care about the Pro Bowl, especially when it's become the last few years. I've watched it so long. It's just I don't particularly care for it. I have no interest for it.
The Pro Bowl is a joke. It needs to go away.
Yeah, I know. You're right. And also, I'm going to be at my pastor's house. He's the guy that you met when we were out having barbecue that day. I'm going to be at his house for the Super Bowl this Sunday. So
nice.
Yeah. And George, as far as the game goes, yeah. Oh, yeah. George, as far as the game goes Sunday, I definitely would go with Kansas City. You just can't bet against them. It's hard for me to pick against them. I said, even if Patrick Mahomes was still, which he's still on the team, I still think the Eagles overall a better team with weapons and everything. With the fact that they've got A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley. Their weaponry is overall very much better than the Chiefs. But they just find a way to win. If it's like 2-3 minutes left to go in the game and Chiefs are behind, I think they'll come from behind and win like they used to do. I think somebody made the point I heard earlier this week. If the Eagles have got to be like the snake and cut the head off, I think for them to win, I think it's a blowout. It's more likely going to be actually Philadelphia than Kansas City. Because Kansas City, I think they've had 17 straight close games. Also, I guess you heard the stat. They haven't given up a 100-yard rusher since 2019, which is that's unbelievable. I'm talking about playoffs, not regular season games. I think it's something like 17, 18, or 19 straight games. They have not given up over 100 yards, George. So it's just going to be real interesting. I'm definitely too pulling for Philly. I just got a feeling Kansas City is going to win. And I think Saquon Barkley, whether or not he'll break a big run, I don't know. I think he can get the 7-8 yarders. But for them to have a shot, I think even if he gets over 100 yards, they still might lose. I think it's going to have to be big runs where he's got 125 yards or more. I think they would chance it better the more yards he gets, like about 125, 150, George. So and also, I got to George, I owe you an apology.
You owe me an apology for what?
I'm sorry. Again, there was something else I forgot. There was actually another team that played each other twice in Super Bowl, so I totally forgot about it. Because overall, this is the 8th meeting. It's 6-1. There actually was one Super Bowl matchup where one team won the first time, but in the second matchup, the other team lost. I've forgotten about this, and I remember earlier today. Do you know who that was? It's the only time it's happened, where the first meeting, one team won, but in the second meeting, the other team won. That's on me for forgetting that.
Tell me, who is it?
It's Miami and Washington. Well, of course, Miami was the undefeated team and beat Washington. Of course, if it wasn't for that Mike Bass interception where Gary Pertman tried to throw the ball, it would have been a shutout. The other game was a strike-shortened season where Washington, I think, was like 7-2. Miami was 6-3. And it was the beginning of the Hogs with Joe Theismann and John Riggins. I totally forgot about that one. Yeah. George, I'll get off. You have a great weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you soon.
Eric, you have a good one. Talk to you Monday.
I'm seeing Barkley's over-under. This is on CBS Sports at 127.5 rushing yards.
And to me, that's them saying that Barkley is going to break one.
Yeah.
Now, to what level does he break one? I don't know. Because KC's defense is way better than the Commanders, and it's a considerable amount better than the Rams.
Yeah. I mean, what he's
personally
done,
I'd stay away from that.
I mean, he went over 100 easily in both playoff games. I mean, over 100 seems like a layup for this. Does he get to 115, 130 even? I mean, I could maybe see that.
Depends on, busting one big. Here's a cynical thought. What if we kept the same rosters? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we had Patrick Mahomes as Philadelphia's quarterback, and we had Jalen Hurts as Kansas City's. What would the line be?
Eagles -4. I mean, that would be dramatic because it's the better roster if you take out Mahomes, but if you add him to the team, hello.
Because I would contend that while KC has the advantage at tight end, because look, Kelsey, and I don't know why this happens, because everybody knows they're going to him. Why does he continue to be able, with the spotlight totally on him, to pull out these 14-catch, 128-yard games? Because the likelihood is that's what's going to happen Sunday. But if you go to the wide receiver room, way better in Philly.
They are just so good at that quick passing game. I mean,
scary.
There's going to be a ton of pressure when the Eagles have the ball on offense to convert and score touchdowns, not field goals. Because that's the one thing too. You're not beating the Chiefs by kicking field goals. But I can't wait. I don't think I've been this excited. Does it feel like there's a level of buzz for this or no?
I don't know.
I'm not feeling it really.
Well, I heard a lot of beef fatigue
Yeah.
which a lot of people say they're tired of the Chiefs.
That's probably part of it.
And yet, I heard Mike Greenberg make the comment that nobody really said that when the Bulls went on their second three-peat with Michael Jordan. But you're hearing a lot of that with Kansas City. By the way, let me just ask this question. If KC wins, okay, and they get the three-peat, in the locker room, do you start hearing four-peat?
I think a lot of that was last year. It's like, okay, now let's go get the third. But after the third,
man,
you're looking at Kelsey. There's rumors that this is going to be his last game.
I don't believe it.
As a Chief.
There's no way he's giving it up if they
Andy
win.
Reid already said he's coming back.
Yeah.
I think this game is big probably for Kelsey. If they win, you got to believe he comes back. I mean, to win a fourth, that's never happened.
Yeah.
A fourth in a row. Then I think that's when you start talking greatest dynasty. Is Mahomes already the best? You start getting into some elevated territory there.
We take a final break and then wrap this baby up. This is 94.9, The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
The George Plaster Show gets advertisers the results they're looking for. For example, here's Metro Nashville police officer Garen Hoskins.
You hear me all the time on the show talk about changes in career and people looking to serve their community and get into law enforcement and join a great department. And I just so happened to meet an individual who heard my segment on your show and has already applied, has come from multiple different career paths and has always had this dream. And we're very glad to have him. And that's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
Baby.
Normally, this is when we do Plaster Bet of the Day, but given the Super Bowl and the importance, we went ahead and did it earlier. I've taken Philly to win the game outright +1, but kind of hedged the bet a little bit with a two-team teaser of Philadelphia +7 and over 42.5. And remember, 42.5. And remember, in a two-team teaser, both sides have got to win for the bet to win. I think the over's a codlock cinch. Philly +7, I feel really good about. Philly +1, that's
so much.
Sticking one's neck out.
Yes.
So
are
back.
you confident?
I like my chances.
Okay, we'll see.
We will be with you on Monday. However, do not be surprised in your lifetime when the Monday after the Super Bowl becomes a national holiday. Remember, you heard that first right here. For Billy Derrick And for anybody else who wants their name mentioned, Mark Griffin, George Plaster, have a good weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl.